AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride! Woo!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. We are live today at Marucci Hitter's house on Segan, just off of Segan in Baton Rouge. And glad to have you hanging out with us here for the next 3 hours as we send you into your weekend. And my goodness, do we have a plumb ton to do. Clay Harris, LSU Chief Revenue Officer, in 15 minutes. Terrio in 1 hour. Some conversation about Ole Miss running back Kewan Lacey that we got to delve into. Saints-Panthers preview, but let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
Well, sometimes a blind squirrel finds a nut. LSU did, or the SEC did, in fact, release the LSU football schedule for 2026. And one of the things that I'm very fond of saying, if you've listened for any length of time, you know I often say it, that it's not just who you play, but when and where you play them. And now we know the full slate for Lane Kiffin's maiden voyage as the LSU head football coach. The SEC on Thursday night released the 2026 composite football schedule. So we already knew who the opponents were going to be. Now we know the order in which they're going to play. So I'll give you a few takeaways that I had from the schedule release. And I'll start actually at the end. I know everyone is going to be interested in Ole Miss. That'll be LSU's first conference game, September the 19th in Oxford. But let me circle back to that. I think November, as we told you, we found out earlier in the week, kind of had a sneak peek at the schedule earlier in the week, that November was going to be brutal. So LSU really has to make their hay. You need to avoid early landmines, make your hay in the middle of the schedule in October, and be prepared to play really meaningful games in November. So LSU's open date will stay in that traditional Halloween weekend, and then they'll play Alabama in Baton Rouge November the 7th. A week later, Texas comes to Baton Rouge for the first time in more than 50 years. That was the game, of course, that we were supposed to see in 2020. COVID happened. Texas never made the return trip. So whenever the league schedule expanded, it was pretty obvious that this was going to be one that was going to happen, was Texas was going to come to Baton Rouge. And here it is. So Bama, Texas, at Tennessee, November 21st, and then at Arkansas on Saturday, November the 28th. So November is going to be brutal, and I always look for where do you find back-to-back road conference games. That's something that historically is very difficult to navigate in the SEC, and LSU avoided that this past year, but in 2026, they will, in fact, go back-to-back road conference games to finish the regular season at Tennessee, at Arkansas. I also think it's notable that you're going to face 4 first-year head coaches. Of course, your first SEC game, September the 19th in Oxford against Ole Miss. That is the game that the entirety of the college football world will be watching. I don't even need to look at what other games are in week 3 of the college football slate. Everyone is going to be watching LSU Ole Miss. Everyone is going to be looking at the spectacle of Lane Kiffin returning to Oxford and what that looks like. From an LSU perspective, though, you feel really good about where that game is on the schedule. Because keep in mind, Ole Miss was Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss. It was his offense. It was his brilliance. It was his imagination. Pete Golding's a good defensive coordinator, but he hasn't led elite defenses at Ole Miss. And so maybe Pete Golding ends up being a really good head coach there. But in week 3, there's a lot of ambiguity of what is the offense going to look like. With John David Baker, the new offensive coordinator there. How quickly will they assimilate? Who's going to play quarterback? Like, does Trinidad Chambliss get an extra year? If he does he stay at Ole Miss? Does he transfer? Is it Austin Simmons? Does he transfer? I don't know. Like, there's just, by week 3, you're not going to know a lot about Pete Golding's Ole Miss Rebels in week 3. So LSU actually catches a break going to Ole Miss in week 3 as opposed to maybe later in the season if they found a little footing. What I don't like is the back-to-back at Ole Miss, home against Texas A&M. Marcel Reed has already said he plans to return. Now, A&M's offensive line should have a full turnover, so what will A&M be next year? That is worth questioning. And look, those are the back-to-back games where the location is the same in consecutive years. LSU goes to Ole Miss in consecutive years. A&M comes to Baton Rouge in consecutive years. That's back-to-back to wrap up September. If you can find a way to navigate Clemson, Louisiana Tech, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and get to 4-0 through September, then you're going to be playing really meaningful games come November. Because October is McNeese at home, at Kentucky, new head coach there, Will Stein. Home against Mississippi State, Jeff Lebby will be in year 3, but if we're being honest, LSU at home should be favored in that game. And then you're at Auburn, another first-year head coach there, and Alex Golish going from South Florida to Auburn. So you really catch a break in October, and with tremendous amounts of respect for how difficult it is to play at Jordan-Hare Stadium, those are 4 games where LSU should be favored. And then you have your open date, you flip to November, which we talked about. So, the key to this schedule is you got to start fast, finish fast. You can't stub your toe in the first month. You got to make sure you take care of business in October, which sets you up to play meaningful games in November. And that 3-game stretch, really, Alabama, Texas, at Tennessee. Then you go at Arkansas with Ryan Silverfield in his first year. But really, Alabama, Texas, at Tennessee, that's going to be probably the stretch that makes or breaks your season in 2026 in year 1 under Lane Kiffin. A lot of work to do still to build the roster for 2026, which we'll continue talking about as another LSU player went into the portal on Friday that we'll talk about. But a lot of work to do on the roster. The transfer portal still hasn't opened up yet. Lane Kiffin hasn't had his first day on the practice field yet out at LSU. But we now know what the slate will look like year 1. And I would argue that certainly in my 20 years of covering LSU, this will be the best home slate that LSU's had. Clemson, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, Alabama, Texas. I mean, that is a delicious non-conference and conference slate, home slate for the season ticket holders. So LSU, we now know the order in which they will play in 2026. Let me know your thoughts if you want. You can drop them in the Bayou Forward YouTube chat, email us, tweet us, text us, your big takeaways from the LSU schedule release. We're glad to have you aboard with us here. Our show open every day is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR, the official beer of the LSU Tigers, the official beer of the New Orleans Saints. Saints are back at the Dome on Sunday, taking on the Carolina Panthers. Hopefully the Saints can go 2-0 against Carolina this week. If you're going to be in the Dome, watching at home, at your holiday party, maybe you're jetting out to your favorite restaurant or bar tonight, make sure you drink plenty of delicious ice-cold Bud Light, the official beer of AFR, the official beer of the LSU Tigers. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light. All right, y'all, it is After Further Review. Thrilled to be here at Marucci's Hitter's House today. Awesome spot. Second time we've been set up here. Beautiful retail location. Of course, Marucci, founded right here in Baton Rouge. If you want to come get the baseball bats, gloves, apparel, cleats, everything that you need to have under the Christmas tree for the young baseball or softball player on your list. If it's your son, your daughter, your niece, nephew, grandson, granddaughter, they got everything here at Marucci's Hitter's House. They got the cages behind us as well. They got memberships. It's all encompassing. You want to be better at baseball, softball, you got to find Marucci's Hitter's House if you haven't yet. So come see us here. We're right off of Segan. If you're driving down Segan near Airline, you'll see the big 104.5 ESPN Louisiana Sports.net wrap truck. So just pop on in and say hello. We got free Marucci hats. If you come on in and give us a shout out, look, Delandra. Tell you what, I'm not gonna lie, I got a big old dome. I need a the snapback's got to get a few extra snaps on it. Hang on one second. What do we think? What do we think? I can't see myself, so you got to give me a heads up. You like that?
Yeah.
A little khaki.
I like it.
The khaki brown.
Looks good.
Yeah, you like it? All right. Come on by. Give you a hat. You can even have the one that has my my head lice on it. I'll give you the one right off my head. I don't have lice. I'm bald. Can't have lice. Can bald people have lice? I don't think so. I don't think that's possible. All right, it's after further review. We're glad to have you aboard with us here. Let me knock out a quick break, y'all. First break of the show. We'll come back. Friday's AFR is brought to you by Don Juan Cigar Bar. When we come back, Clay Harris, LSU's Chief Revenue Officer, will be here. Now, if you missed it on Thursday, gigantic announcement between LSU and Nike. If you're sitting there thinking, what's the big deal? It's just 10 athletes who got an NIL deal with Nike. Not so fast. This is a massive deal, and Clay Harris will be here next to explain it. Stay with us here. It's AFR.
AFR.
Actually, Alondra, if you literally look across the street and go to about 2 o'clock right over there, it's Clegg's Nursery. I mean, it's right there. You need to go get you a Christmas tree, come to Marucci, buy you a baseball bat, and then go to Clegg's and buy you a Christmas tree. Already got your tree? Cool. Guess what? They got bajillions of poinsettias over there, arriving daily. They're grown in their own local greenhouses here. And so they have a beautiful selection, and they got tons of gifts as well. Clegg's gift card for the green thumb on your list. Awesome idea. Tuned wind chimes, which is a great outdoor accent piece for anybody's outdoor space. Hummingbird feeders, bird feeders, citrus trees. If you want that creative gift that no one else is going to think to give them, go to Clegg's. Any of the 4 locations. Segan Air Airline, LA 16 in Denham, Mid-City on Don Moore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. We tell you every day. Buy local, shop local. Tell them Matt sent you in to Clegg's Nursery.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
LSU had a massive announcement on Thursday. LSU and Nike launched a really significant NIL endeavor. It started with 10 athletes, including Trey'Dez Green, DJ Pickett from the football side of things, as Nike embarks in this new phase of NIL, this true third-party NIL. And no doubt one of the reasons why Lane Kiffin was bullish on taking this LSU job. Guys, at the center of all these conversations and negotiations is Clay Harris, LSU's Chief Revenue Officer, who's good enough to join us for a couple of minutes here. Clay, thanks for the time. How are you?
Hey, Matt. Doing well.
Hey, man, we appreciate the time. Let me start with yesterday's announcement. From your seat, why was this significant, this deal with LSU and Nike?
Several different layers to it. You know, Nike's been a really great partner for us over the last several years, and they've been really good to us. So it was important for us to find that alignment going forward, and, you know, not only on the financial side, but the apparel side for our student athletes. But now this new wrinkle with NIL and having the first ever partnership like this with Nike was significantly important for us and our student athletes. And that, you know, once that topic kind of got broached and we started to move in that direction, it was a no-brainer that we were going to realign and renew with Nike going forward.
Does this deal just displace revenue? Meaning, the way, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Nike deal would be Nike, part of it is cash to LSU, part of it is apparel. Are they just taking some of the cash that they would have given to LSU and instead giving it to student athletes?
I would say it's incremental. It's you know, the student athlete revenue is on top of what we would get, both cash and apparel from an LSU side. And that's why it was a really important win for us, because it wasn't just swapping and mixing cash and assets. It was actually incremental with the student athlete side and NIL.
Why did Nike choose to begin this program at LSU?
I think it was pretty simple. The LSU brand speaks for itself. I think people in this area know that very well, but the reach of our brand is significant, and how it reverberates across the country is second to none. And then I'd say we are very well set up on the NIL side with our infrastructure we've built here the last 2 years. You know, we've got teams that go out and seek student athlete deals with corporate partners. We've got a team that manages fulfillment and assets with those NIL deals with our corporate partners. We've got a team that manages the agent side and the contract side and the agreement side. And we're very well set up here to take on a project like this It was a lot of legwork that our NILSU team had to do to pull this off, and coordinating with all the NIL deals with Nike as far as the fulfillment goes as well too, with video shoots and photo shoots. Not many other schools in the country can pull off what we just pulled off from an infrastructure standpoint in NIL. And I think those two reasons, the LSU brand and our setup here, was very, very significant to why Nike wanted to move forward with us on that.
Clay, can you dig a little deeper there? Because I think you may have an understanding, but the listener may not. Why other schools who maybe couldn't pull off the 2 days of 15-hour video shoots and all the infrastructure, why is LSU equipped to do that and other schools maybe aren't at this point?
We have the bandwidth personnel-wise and very, very good leadership on the NILSU side as well too, as well as the Playfly Max integration with all of our corporate sponsorships, and Mary Claire Logue, who leads that team. And then it's really integrated nicely with our LSU Sports Properties team, which manages all the LSU Athletics corporate sponsorship. So it's really a bandwidth and expertise on the personnel side, first and foremost.
Clay Harris is with us, LSU's Chief Revenue Officer. When Lane Kiffin was introduced as LSU's head coach at that Monday press conference, one of the things that he spoke pretty openly about was the LSU NIL plan. He said the money, as far as his contract with all of his offers, was close. The NIL plan, as he said, was not close, meaning LSU's was dramatically better than the other schools that offered. What did that plan look like, Clay?
It kind of shined a light on our corporate emphasis. I actually think Lane was quoted in an article a few weeks ago where he said if a collective has $50 to $60 million in it, and you can't do anything with it, it doesn't matter. And so we've got a system here on the corporate side where we're getting through true third-party NIL deals through Deloitte and NIL Go, where a company is doing a deal with the student athlete. The student athlete has to deliver on assets in order to be paid for that agreement. And so we've got an infrastructure here that we've built with the bandwidth on our personnel and combined with our brand that we are able to collaborate on those deals and simultaneously get those through the new enforcement committee and NIL Go for our student athletes. And so again, the collective days are starting to wean out a little bit, and you can have all the money you want to, but if you can't put it through NIL Go and utilize it the right way anymore, it does you no good.
I'm glad you brought up Playfly Max. The last time you were on the show, Clay, was in the spring when Playfly Max was, or the NILSU Max program was, that initiative was launched and announced. And at the time, you told us that you all had been working for 12 to 18 months already on the rev share, true third-party NIL era of college athletics. Can you kind of bring us up to speed from when we talked in the spring when NILSU Max launched to now, and just fill in that gap on what you all have done between then and now?
Yes. So that was 6 months ago or so, and we had just launched the program, and we've built out an entire staff and really built an overall strategy, not just for this year, but how we're going to attack this in for years to come. We want to be built for 26, 27, 28, and 29, and 30, and so on, not just for 26. And so we've built out a staff. We've built out a strategy. We've gotten hundreds of deals through NIL Go for our student athletes. And so that was, a big, every day has been a learning curve on how we manage that and how deals need to be structured going forward via NIL. And so it's really been a learning process, but it's been about hiring the staff and building the right strategy and infrastructure to deal with the bandwidth of sponsorship deals and agreements you have to go and cut with student athletes and brands. Big selling point with Playfly Max is a company has to cut one deal with Playfly, and then Playfly goes and does the dozens and dozens of other student athlete direct deals. It's probably a mouthful and complicated, but it gets very tedious for one company to go have to cut 12, 13, 14, 15 deals with a football team at one time, where now NILSU and Playfly Max takes that on and does those deliverables and that legwork for the brand and company. So we're really trying to cut through all the clutter and make it as easy as possible for both student athlete, brand, as we're going forward with Play Fly Max and NILSU.
This is an opportunity for a pitch, Clay. I'm being very transparent here. So for someone who's listening, watching right now that is a business owner that maybe isn't a $50, $100 million a year business, but has a marketing budget, what is the appeal to them to work with, and is there an opportunity to work with NILSU Max?
Yes, it's simplicity, and 100% of the dollars that a company is spending is going to our student athletes. But it takes away legwork and the bandwidth from a company that wants to do 10 student athletes or 4 student athletes. We go take care of all those individual agreements with those numerous student athletes. All the company has to do is collaborate with us, cut one agreement, and we will work in collaboration for what those deliverables look like for the student athletes.
Clay Harris is with us, LSU's Chief Revenue Officer. I got 2 more things for you. Time, very much appreciated. Number one, I would assume that you have spent some time, certainly leading up to National Signing Day, with Lane Kiffin and General Manager Billy Glasscock. And, of course, with the portal coming up as well. What have been your impressions of working with Lane and Billy Glasscock from the time they showed up here through the early signing period and as you start to prepare for what's going to come in the portal?
Very impressed. Not only the last 2 weeks, but leading up to the last 2 weeks. I think people are going to be very impressed with Billy Glasscock, the general manager. I think he's got a really good mentality on how he's going to build rosters and the infrastructure of the team and the culture he wants to bring and the type of players he wants to bring to the football program that want to be at LSU. I think you're going to see a different edge to the kind of player he brings in. But I've been super impressed with him and Lane as well too. I think they're a great team that's going to really do some big things here at LSU football.
How is their approach different than what maybe we had seen in the previous NIL era with Brian Kelly, most recently GM Austin Thomas?
I think it's a little early to tell that, Matt. There's so many moving pieces, and they're just 2 weeks old. I think both are going to do a really good job on the both previous staff and current staff on how they manage the roster as far as allocation of dollars. But I think it's really early to tell on what the big differences are right now.
As you look into the sort of immediate short term, what should the LSU fan be looking for with the LSU Nike deal on top of the 10 student athletes that started this program?
I think it's just the beginning on the NIL side. I think there's going to be more collaboration and NIL deals with Nike, not only over the next several months, but the coming years. And so you're going to see a lot more LSU student athletes participate in this program, and that's a win-win for everybody. That's a win-win for our talent retention. That's a win-win for recruiting. And so we're extremely happy about that.
Clay Harris, LSU's Chief Revenue Officer, good enough to spend a couple of minutes with us here on this Friday. Man, we appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
Of course, it's our pleasure. It is After Further Review. We're here at Marucci's Hitter's House. We're brought to you by Parish Restoration. ParishRestoration.com. ParishRestoration.com. Kill mold, remove odor. Had some rain earlier today here in the Baton Rouge area. Maybe wherever you are, if you had rain, you start to notice that you got water spots on your ceiling, coming down the walls, maybe in your vehicle. Chances are that's not a new occurrence. You've probably had water intrusion already, which means you could already have mold in your walls, in your sheetrock, in your insulation in the attic. Let Parish Restoration come help you out. They'll kill mold, remove odor, other harmful pathogens. It's more cost-effective, it's more efficient, it's more effective, and it's a patented non-toxic dry fog. So safe for your family, your pets, your plants, everything. ParishRestoration.com. ParishRestoration.com. Thanks to Clay Harris for a couple of minutes there. I've probably had, I don't know, at least a half dozen conversations conservatively with people who have already had meetings with Lane Kiffin and Billy Glasscock. And that word that Clay just used, I was intentionally vague with the way and open-ended with the way I answered it or asked it. Impressive. I mean, everyone uses that word. Impressive. Thorough. I just think maybe one of the biggest differences so far, and again, I want to be clear, I have not yet met, aside from the press conference, seeing Lane Kiffin there, I've not met Billy Glasscock yet, the new GM. But what I gather is the biggest difference so far, and Clay didn't want to go there, that's fine. I'm not going to press him on it. It's early, and they're all collaborating, and they're in a busy time, and we'll learn more as time goes on. But what I see is the biggest difference so far. And I don't know if this is good or bad. It's just different. Brian Kelly was out front about this. Like I'm paraphrasing Brian Kelly, but he said in a press conference this year that one of the reasons he never went to the NFL is he didn't want the GM structure. He wanted autonomy over recruiting and building his roster and all that stuff. But talked about the great relationship that he had with Austin Thomas and how they were able to collaborate and go. But the biggest difference, I think, between that structure and what you have now is Lane Kiffin is all in on this structure, trusting Billy Glasscock with the way that he organizes their player board, the roster, recruits, portal, needs, revenue allocation. And Lane will, of course, be involved, but he's going to go coach football. But you have someone in charge of managing the roster that you trust, that you're aligned with, and you go. And I think one of the things that's been pretty clearly expressed to me is throughout the recruitment process, meaning recruiting Lane Kiffin LSU, these NIL conversations that Lane had, and Billy Glasscock to that extent, it's one thing if you're told something in a sales pitch. We have X amount of NIL. We have X amount funded in the collective. We have X amount of revenue share. We can deliver X in true third-party NIL on top of it. You can say all of that in a meeting, but they come take the job and they say, all right, how much powder do we have? Like, what do we actually have in the bank? Oh, we have X in rev share. That's a legit number. We have that much in revenue share to spend right now. And they're blown away by that because it's not even remotely close to what they were dealing with prior. Remember all the conversations we had about preloading or front-loading last year around this time? Well, all of that now means LSU is cash-rich with money to spend in rev share to front-load again if they need to in this portal cycle, and they have true NIL that they can show with deals like Nike, Our Lady of the Lake, who's a great partner of ours. All these true NIL deals that you've seen, they can show on top of rev share what they've already been able to deliver to their student athletes because of NILSU Max. So yes, don't overlook this. It's LSU as far behind as LSU was in NIL in the initial phase of NIL. They are light years ahead of everyone else in this version of NIL. And although he doesn't work at LSU anymore, it is a major hat tip to the vision that Scott Woodward had 2 years ago to be on the cutting edge to prepare for the inevitability of rev share and what you're seeing right now. I know Scott's not the AD, and we can have all the conversations about how it got to this point, but the vision of what was coming was Scott Woodward's. And all of these wheels got set in motion with the right people in place, like Clay Harris and like a lot of people around LSU who've done amazing work through Playfly and the NILSU Max program to have LSU in a position where they are right now to capitalize. So we'll continue to talk about this as it develops. All right, Terrio's here in 28 minutes from right now. Friday shows are brought to you by Don Juan Cigar Bar. We're here at Marucci's Hitter's House right off of Segan. Come out. I got hats. We got Marucci hats here. You walk in. If you're listening to the show, pull in. I'm slinging your hat like Mardi Gras bees. We're just flinging them left and right. Come hang out with us here. Come get that baseball bat, batting gloves, jerseys, shorts, apparel, cleats, everything that you need, gloves, everything that you need. Even, look, you want to buy one of the Hitter's House memberships. Amazing for baseball or softball. Might have taken a few hacks in the cage before the show today. Delonja, what you laughing at? Turn up your mic and tell the people how good I am at swinging a baseball bat, still even though I haven't done it in 20 years. Come on.
It wasn't bad. You took some cuts for sure. I'm sorry.
Didn't you get in the cage?
I did get in the cage, and I also
and you're
did
so
pretty
first
good.
of all, you're a dead pull hitter.
Yes.
Okay. You can't even. When I started to tell you go the opposite way, that's when you started swinging and missing.
Yeah.
You're like Pedro Serrano out here.
Right.
Straight ball I hit very much. Curveball bats are free.
Right.
That's the line.
I told you, I think I like 85% of my hits.
You got to be able to go the other way.
Throughout my entire life.
Tell me I didn't rope one. Tell me I didn't rope one at dead center. That was leaving the yard.
You did.
Leaving the yard. Even at 43, leaving the yard.
Yeah.
A T-ball yard, but it was leaving the yard. It's after further review. We'll knock out a quick break around the SEC next.
AFR.
We're brought to you by the Watermark and Renaissance. Watermark downtown, Renaissance Southtown. Glad you're. We always appreciate our friendship and our relationship with our friends over at the Watermark and the Renaissance. Two amazing hotel properties. Watermark downtown, premier hotel property in Baton Rouge, voted the best hotel in the best of 225. And then, of course, Renaissance right there on Bluebonnet, near I-10, across from all of Louisiana and Perkins Row. Maybe you're shopping till you drop with Christmas time here, and you don't want to drive home. Awesome. Just go stay at Renaissance Baton Rouge. It's right across the street. All the plush amenities of a gorgeous hotel. You got Tallulah. You want to have a great meal. You can do it. Casual, upscale dining experience. The terrace, which is indoor-outdoor flow. Or maybe you got an event coming up in 2026. Make sure you call my friend Allison Crump over at Renaissance Baton Rouge to book that event. What event? Doesn't matter. Any event. They can do it over at Renaissance Baton Rouge. It's Watermark Downtown and the Renaissance Baton Rouge.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
Rolling along here on a Friday edition of AFR. We are glad to have you hanging out with us here. We are keeping an eye on the Bryce Underwood situation. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, y'all. It's there's just so much uncertainty right now. But a day ago, with Sharon Moore's arrest, and listen, there's a lot of people that are going to make jokes. I'm not going to be one of those people. That's a devastatingly sad story. And Sharon Moore brought this upon himself by the decisions he made as an adult male. But he also has a wife and 3 children. A family has been turned on its head. All of his mistress, her life has been altered, certainly, by the decisions she made as a young person here. All of the players at the University of Michigan, staff members under Sharon Moore who may now, because he's no longer employed, may not have a job and their families may be moving. I mean, the decisions that he made engaging in this, quote, inappropriate relationship with a staff member, Michigan's word from their statement, not my words, are going to be far-reaching. But we're going to continue to follow this. And Sharon Moore, he was arraigned and he was released from jail after meeting the $25,000 bond here on Friday. He has been, as we mentioned, arraigned on Friday. And the legalities there will play out. But for us here, I think the most look, we're not a legal show. We're not a tabloid journalism show or news magazine. Like, we're a sports show. And so I'm going to stick to sports. And the most relevant part of this here, of course, is what happens with Bryce Underwood. You're talking about a guy that was committed to LSU for a year, 5-star quarterback, started this year as a freshman. And a day ago, Bryce Underwood's camp said that they're going to monitor the situation to see who the new head coach is going to be. So it is not a hard and fast, I'm staying at Michigan, which means the door is open for leaving, which means all of the speculation and conversation will and should persist. And, we're less than a month away now from the opening of the portal window, January the 2nd. And players from the University of Michigan, the ones that choose to enter the portal, it'll be fascinating because Lane Kiffin will have an awful lot to sell. He's a treasure chest of funds to spend. And he will have playing time to sell and all the brand awareness of LSU and everything associated, opportunity to win a championship, all of that. There's going to be a lot to sell for Lane Kiffin and his staff in this portal window, and there's certainly going to be Michigan players in the portal, and one of them may very well be Bryce Underwood, so we'll continue to follow that. All right, it's after further review, y'all. We'll go around the SEC in just a second. I want to remind you about Supper Club. SupperClubBTR.com. It is Friday, SupperClubBTR.com. Knocking off of work in a little bit, get on over to Supper Club. Remember, they open at 5 o'clock. Open seating at the bar. So there's 14 bar stools, 7 bar tables. Remember, you never have to have a reservation to go sit at the bar. And bar tables are available. Boom. You're in luck. Fantastic. You can have cocktails, wine, whatever there at the bar tables. You can have your dinner there. Or you can book your reservation at SupperClubBTR.com. And I want to continue to remind you, if you've not been to Supper Club or if it's been a while, even if you've been recently, it's worth going again now because the decor in the restaurant is amazing. I mean, there's places like the Roosevelt Hotel in New Orleans where people go just to be able to take pictures in the lobby because it's such a gorgeous scene. You got to see what they did inside the restaurant. You're going to want to go take your photos there, your significant other, business partners, family, whatever. SupperClubBTR.com. Supper Club right there on Perkins near Bluebonnet. SupperClubBTR.com. Okay, we do it every day about this time. Muse hit it around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference. The Arkansas Razorbacks.
All right, well, Ryan Silverfield has his GM. This report comes from Football Scoop. Gaizka Crowley is set to assume the prominent role on Silverfield's first Arkansas staff. He comes to Fayetteville from the University of Arizona. Spent the 2 previous seasons with the Wildcats as their general manager after 1 season at Western Michigan, now in the SEC.
The Florida Gators.
John Summerall is expected to hire former Gators offensive tackle Phil Troutwine as the program's offensive line coach. Multiple sources confirm that to Swamp 247. Troutwine spent the last 6 seasons as the O-line coach at Penn State. Before that, 2 years up at Boston College. He was a 2-time All-SEC lineman and 2-time national champion at Florida under Urban Meyer. Returns to Gainesville.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
Vols wide receiver Chris Brazzell II has declared for the 2026 NFL Draft. This comes after a breakout 2025 season in which he was the only wide receiver in the SEC to surpass 1,000 yards. His 9 touchdown catches also shared the top spot in the league. He announced the decision on his social media. Of course, started his career at Tulane before transferring to Rocky Top, now off to the National Football League.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
Kentucky linebacker Steven Souls Jr. has entered the transfer portal here on Thursday night, reported early on Friday morning. Spent 2 seasons with Kentucky, 17 games, 16 tackles, but 4.5 sacks. Souls Jr. will have 2 years of eligibility remaining. That is around the SEC.
We're here at Marucci's Hitter's House. Glad to have you hanging out with us here. We'll wrap up hour number 1 when we come back. Kaleb Jackson is the latest Tiger to enter the transfer portal. So I want to give you some perspective on the future of the LSU running back position. So we'll get to that as we wrap up hour number 1. Terry will be here in about 15 minutes from right now. We're glad you're hanging out. Stay with us here on a Friday edition of AFR presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
After further review.
Let's Rev, R-E-V, Let'sRev.com, Let'sRev.com. Love telling you about Rev because I love telling you about great local businesses. And Rev has been doing that for 90 years, 9 decades. We're talking about 90 years of local service. You call Rev, you're not getting shipped off to a call center in another country. When you call Rev, you're getting someone at a call center right here in our area. In our area, what do I mean? Baton Rouge, Gonzales, Prairieville, Plaquemine, Denham, Springfield, Hammond, Ponchatoula, Covington, Mandeville, LaPlace, Reserve, Thibodaux, Houma, LaRose, Grand Isle, all over. And we're talking about faster, more reliable internet, speeds up to 5 gigs, and the Wi-Fi equipment is included at no additional cost. Working with Rev is just a better experience. Home or for your business, Let'sRev.com. R-E-V, Let'sRev.com, Let'sRev.com. Let's Rev, y'all. Let'sRev.com.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
Wrapping up hour number 1. We're presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar right there in Town Center. Today's show, we're live at Marucci Hitter's house. You'll come on by, hang out with us at Segan. People coming in, we're slinging hats left and right. Got Marucci hats. They're awesome. They put a whole big stack of hats on the table. Just people come in, you heard it on the show, we'll sling you a hat. So we appreciate y'all for hanging out with us here. Friday, another LSU player declared their intention to enter the transfer portal. This one isn't a tremendous surprise, but it is a change of course for Kaleb Jackson. Former four-star running back from Liberty Magnet in Baton Rouge, exploded on the scene as a freshman, 4 rushing touchdowns, had some really dynamic runs in fall camp leading up to 2024. There was one play that sort of went viral in camp where he just dump trucked Whit Weeks. And he was my and a lot of people's choice to be the breakout player offensively for LSU in 2024, and it just never manifests. And after, of course, Caden Durham had the fantastic freshman season a year ago, and after last year and through spring, I thought Kaleb Jackson was so candid in talking about, when he met with reporters, why he didn't transfer, and talking about maybe he read some of his own press clippings. I mean, this is him talking about his decision not to transfer. This was Kaleb Jackson in the spring.
Because my family is from here, from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, so having them in my circle at all times is always amazing. Having to be able to go home, talk to my mama, have to talk to my grandma, have to talk to my father, and all that type of stuff. It really sets my head straight, and makes me want to go harder just for them, just so I can do it in my home state. As a kid from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, went to school down the street. You know what I'm saying? That played an impact when we wanted to stay here and just keep going.
I really respected very much. I do respect very much what Kaleb Jackson said at the time. His desire to be great at LSU, to be in his home state, have his family right down the street, and acknowledge that after that freshman season, he read his press clippings. He maybe didn't work as hard, gained a little weight, and he was trying to get that right this year. And ultimately, this year just didn't play out that way. You had Caden Durham, you had Harlem Berry coming in that stole a lion's share of those reps. Kaleb Jackson played in just 4 games this season so he could maintain that redshirt year. So he has 2 years of eligibility remaining wherever he does in fact go. And, we'll cheer for him and wish him well. But, I think for LSU, we start to look at it in terms of what does this mean for the running back position? Because remember, Juwan Johnson, be it quarterback, running back, he's already gone in the portal. Now Kaleb Jackson's going in the portal. JT Lindsey is still away from the team while he's suspended as his legal proceedings continue to play out, which means Caden Durham and Harlem Berry are the only 2 scholarship running backs you have on the roster. You did not sign a running back in this high school class a week ago, so you get 2 running backs. Like, that ain't enough. So as you start to look at how Lane Kiffin is planning to build this roster, it is just clear. I mean, he's got the reputation as the portal king, but they are going to go ham in the transfer portal. And you're going to have to add at least 2 running backs, because you're not going into a season with 2 scholarship running backs, and you're only going to get maybe 1 in the portal. You're not going into a season with 3 scholarship running backs. That's just not enough. So they're going to have to go get depth at the running back position in this portal window. And, of course, everybody's looking at Kewan Lacey. Lacey was the outstanding running back at Ole Miss this year. And, all the conversation that I've had with folks at Ole Miss is that Kewan Lacey and their running backs coach, Kevin Smith, are really attached at the hip. And Lacey, of course, was recruited by Lane Kiffin and Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss, and played in that offense. So it stands to reason that if Kevin Smith does, in fact, leave Ole Miss after the season for LSU, then Kewan Lacey very well could be joining as well. Now, Pete Golding, at a press conference, meeting with reporters, and in that press conference on Thursday when he met with reporters, he kind of gave an update on Kevin Smith's status.
Yeah, Kevin's coaching his ass off right now and getting us prepared for the games. Kevin's very mature about the situation from the very beginning, from that Sunday. Like, hey, I'm here, I'm all in, and I'm going to figure this out in January when everybody else does. And it's going to cost them, whoever that is. So he's playing how he should be. He's all in, he's focused. Like every coach is going to evaluate, their position where they're at and what's best for them and their family, and do they have better opportunities based on being a coordinator or what level they want to go to. So I have no concerns on where Kevin's mind is when he's here and what he's doing, and we'll figure that out in January.
What is interesting is a day ago we talked about that report from Michael Katz where he published on social media the binding memorandum of understanding for Pete Golding, and also listed that he had term sheets for a handful of other assistants, one of them being Kevin Smith. Well, as I learned today, the other term sheets are not binding MOUs. The Pete Golding MOU is binding. The ones for the assistants, not. So I think it is still very much up in the air what's going to happen with Kevin Smith. It may well be a case that Kevin Smith is going to coach throughout the playoff there with Ole Miss. And then, as you just heard Pete Golding say, in January when the season's over, then he'll make a decision. But the fact that Pete Golding was non-committal about Kevin Smith staying, again, like, you can read a lot of the tea leaves here. When none of these parties are being committal about what's going to happen, it tells you that the door is very much open for the possibility of a change there, and Kevin Smith may be landing in Baton Rouge. It's something we'll continue to watch here throughout the coming days and weeks, as Ole Miss's season will come to an end at some point, and then we'll have some clarity and finality over Lane Kiffin's staff. All right, it is After Further Review. We're here at Marucci's Hitter's House. Glad to have you hanging out with us here. Y'all, the warehouse sale's going on through tomorrow. Make sure you get by here. Take advantage of incredible deals on bats and gloves and apparel and everything. They even got golf gear here as well. Come hang out here at Marucci's Hitter's House on Segan near Airline. Hour number 2, right around the bend. Terrio's with us. It's AFR.
After Further Review.
Just down the street from where we are is South Point Volkswagen. Airline just north of Highland, or southpointvw.com. If you're here at Marucci's Hitter's House, you go up to Airline, hang a right, a few miles down on the right. That's where you'll see South Point Volkswagen. Y'all, we're nearing the end of the year, and that means the 2025's got to go, because they got to make room for the 2026s coming in. And South Point Volkswagen, awesome. Remember, new and certified pre-owned. With the new Volkswagens, you're talking about all the different makes and models. And if you want to score a great deal on a 2025, now is the time before the end of the year to go make a deal at South Point Volkswagen. The best inventory, the best selection, the best prices, the best people. Airline just north of Highland. And remember, when you buy a Volkswagen, you're getting all the style, feel, performance of luxury that I tell you about all the time, the great German engineering, without the cost, and of course, all the amazing safety features. So test drive a Volkswagen today at South Point Volkswagen. Airline just north of Highland, or southpointvw.com. It's South Point Volkswagen.